A lot of people that will see you will know you as Shadow.
In the 90s, they had a program called the Gladiators.
Am I right in thinking that it was reaching about 15 million every single week?
Yeah.
You were super famous. How long did it take before you would say that it became a problem?
When I was accused of doing a line of cocaine in a restaurant in the King's Road, well, I got fired.
What did that feel like?
Today I was Shadow, and I woke up the next day I wasn't.
This allegation led to you losing everything, literally, overnight. Where does that leave you?
Where does it leave you? It was like I was just stripped of everything.
So Shadow had died,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah. That day scared me so much and showed me that I don't need this. Do you want me to explain that to you?
Yeah.
I couldn't get out of bed unless I had a line of heroin.
Yeah.
I couldn't function unless I had a line of heroin. When I tell people I was weak as a kitten, that's how it makes you.
So Jeff,
Yes.
you are here with me on The New Mind.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. You've travelled from London
London?
to be here on a Saturday.
Why not?
Dedication, that is, isn't it? Giving up your Saturday for me. I really appreciate that.
No, I appreciate it.
I mean, I've called you Jeff there, but a lot of people that will see you will know you as Shadow.
Yes.
Tell me why they'll think of you as Shadow. For those that don't know, if I've got younger watchers and listeners.
Okay, in the 90s, early 90s, 1990, they had a program on LWT, London Weekend Television, called the Gladiators.
Which was the biggest Saturday night
One
programme.
of the biggest programs on a Saturday night. Apparently it was bigger than Blind Date,
Yeah,
bigger than Noel's House Party.
yeah. I remember it well.
There was only about 4 channels on TV at the time.
There was, apart from those that were lucky enough to have Sky.
To have Sky, yeah. So
But most people didn't.
Yeah, it was a watch on a Saturday night.
It was. And from my recollection, because I did watch it, you were one of the biggest names, really. It was you and Wolf that stand out as the biggest names that were consistent for the first couple of seasons, at least, or series or whatever. And it was just such a momentous occasion for families.
Yeah.
You know,
To
fish
sit
and
down.
chips on a
Sure,
Friday night, or
sure.
Saturday night.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, it was good TV, very
Yeah.
good TV. And you know, I remember a couple of the contestants from it, Eunice in
Oh, yeah, I
particular.
remember Eunice.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
even the contestants you remember, because it was such a big show.
Sure.
Ulrika Johnson was the host, and John Fashanu, and it was great.
Yeah.
And because we only had 4 channels, you were super famous at the time. I mean, I can't imagine you could go anywhere or do anything without people knowing your business.
Couldn't go nowhere.
And you were, I mean, the Gladiators, obviously it's on now on BBC One again, isn't it, with Bradley Walsh?
Yes.
But the Gladiators were massive. And I don't just mean the show, I mean, you were absolutely huge physically.
Yeah, we all came from, well, a majority of us came from the bodybuilding world. I mean,
Yeah.
they wanted people that looked like us in order to have that sort of superhuman action figure appearance. So, yeah.
I mean, you were all larger than life,
yeah,
literally.
yeah.
And it was spectacular.
Yeah.
And it's really important to say that, because I think now, because it's on BBC One and we've got so many other channels, I don't think it's got the same viewing figures. Am I right in thinking that it was reaching about 15 million viewing figures every single week?
Yeah.
I mean, that's mental.
Mentally.
Like 15 million
Yeah.
people seeing your
Yeah.
face week in, week out.
Yeah.
What was that like, that experience of being, I guess, everywhere you went, known, seen, probably not really left alone, I'd imagine.
Yeah, one time I went shopping with my wife and supermarket. I had to leave the supermarket because I just got mobbed.
Wow.
You know, so then that's when we realised what it is to be a celebrity.
Yeah,
was that
it was
first
proper.
that first rush of people.
Yeah. And of course, it was before, social media.
Yeah.
We didn't really even have the internet then, did we? Till like 97,
Yeah.
really, was when it kicked off, I suppose, people started to use it. And I mean, so to see someone famous was rare.
Rare, I suppose.
So I can imagine that when you were out and about and people saw you, they'd just think, celebrity was different then. I mean, those of listeners that are around our age, well, I know you're a little bit older than me, Jeff, but we won't say that. But yeah, around our age, will know that life was different.
Life was different in the 90s, yeah.
And how does that affect your psyche? How does that affect your psychology, being that well known?
I think I've grown to live with it now. Obviously, it's 30 years down the road, and I appreciate being recognised for what I did.
Yeah.
And to think that I've left that memory in people's minds, a good memory, childhood memory for some.
Oh God! I mean, I was 16 watching it. So it was a childhood thing.
So we obviously left an impression on people to still be recognised today. It's good.
I mean, I'm desperate to sing the theme tune as you sit here. It's in my head.
Which one?
Now.
War or Gladiators?
It's honestly, everything about it was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was such a good time.
Yeah.
So, and actually a better time for a lot of people than it is now. It's really hard at the moment.
Yeah, it's really hard for people at the moment.
So you were associated with those glory days, I think. Yeah. And I think that must be really something to be very proud of.
I am proud of that time. Yeah, it was a good time in my life that time. Yeah. I mean, I was just about to turn professional in bodybuilding when I applied for that job. So to use my body for something like that, I thought, why not? And it did turn out as I sort of imagined it and as I wanted it to turn out. It turned out nice.
Now, interestingly, you your character was Shadow, okay, and it's a bit of a cheesy inroad to what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say all the same. Things obviously changed after a little while, and the reason I'm using your name there is because I'm thinking about Carl Jung, and Carl Jung, a psychologist, and quoted billions of times for talking about the shadow side to the human experience. So where you had all this glory and all this light and all this celebrity and all of this sort of fame, then things quickly changed, and the shadow aspect of yourself was starting to be prominent. And then, the public find out about that shadow side to you. But before we go there, because I know actually some aspects of that side of you that came out after the show, and because perhaps even because of the fame, because obviously fame leads to all sorts of toxic things as well, childhood. So before we go to what happened after Gladiators, I just wanted to explore where you began. Am I right in thinking, I have tried to do my research, but you never know if what you're reading is true. Am I right in thinking that at the age of 14 you went to live in America?
Yeah. My mother lived in New York, and so I went to join her.
Tell me about that.
Didn't like it at first. It was a bit claustrophobic. You know how all the buildings are like apartment blocks?
Yeah.
So all the streets are blocks and blocks of apartments. Roaches, rats, It was a lot to get used to, but like with other things, you do get used to them. Going to school, making friends, playing American football, which I enjoyed. And I enjoyed lifting weights. I had to lift weights for playing football.
Yeah.
And I just started to grow, as you do, from 14, 15, 16. And 16, I came back to London and I competed in my first bodybuilding show, Teenage Mr. Britain, which I won 3 years in a row. The only person to do so. The only other person to do so, rather.
Do they run that anymore, Teenage Mr. Britain? Or?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah. There's many different federations that do it, yeah.
That's really... I'm surprised they haven't banned it, actually.
Why?
Just because, they ban everything now. Just because, we can't do that anymore because it might be a little bit dangerous, but no.
Well, they've sort of done that to Gladiators, really.
Well, they have, yeah.
Yeah. They've completely...
taken the fun out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
Taking the fun out of it, yeah.
Yeah. So you were competing... So you'd gone to New York and then you came back and you were competing for Teenage Mr. Britain then?
Yeah. So I used to go back and forth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because you can't stay out of New York for more than 2 years. So I used to just come for 6 months and then go back.
So you were like a nomad early on. You were traveling around and sort of being
I was
global.
lucky. Well, I was lucky my mother was in America. My mother's brother was there, and I was lucky that I went there. And so, that sort of planted the seed that made me do a lot of traveling. I enjoyed traveling.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, and also when you went to New York, I love New York, but you would have gone in the 70s, I guess.
Yeah,
and
80s. Yeah, 70s, 80s, yeah.
So they probably hadn't completely cleaned it up yet. So when you were talking about roaches and rats...
when you say cleaned it up, there was an epidemic, crack epidemic.
Yeah.
I didn't realise what it was at the time, but
no.
That's what was going on, and all the mafia bosses were getting shot and John Gotti was taking over and all that. I saw these things in the paper, but not really realising, the magnitude of it, or that I was in America where gangsters are shooting each other in the street and there's an epidemic. Crack it, I didn't know what it was.
And it was a real serious problem.
Yeah, serious thing.
So for you, being around that, and although you weren't, at that tender age, you weren't necessarily aware of what it was. At all. But did it influence you, that kind of atmosphere?
Of course, I got involved in it, tried it, didn't realise where it was going to take me, didn't realise what it was that it does to people after a period of time. I was just enjoying the time, like everyone else is doing it. So but then you get to a stage where
that was a
things
problem.
go south. Yeah.
So how long did that take from you moved there at 14, you're getting involved with American football, lifting weights, you're around, people smoking crack, you're having a little try. How long did it take before you would say that it became a problem?
Probably about 19. My mother phoned my dad and said, listen, you need to send for your son.
So you were not good at that stage?
I wasn't good at that stage.
What was life like?
Wasn't good. I was doing things I shouldn't be doing. I was taking things I shouldn't have been taking. And other people's things.
Yeah.
Stealing. I wasn't in a good place. Chasing that. I wasn't in a good place.
Let me ask you this question because it's actually really fundamental, because people will hear, and when I say people, I mean people that perhaps don't have a good understanding of addiction. So they'll hear that you were getting involved in crack and, being a bit naughty and, getting yourself into trouble and doing things that, perhaps go against your moral compass or what the moral compass that you may have had at the time. And they'll go, well, that's wrong. People shouldn't do it, kids these days or whatever. You hear that a lot. But actually, when you're taking a substance like that, it does alter your perception. It also alters your psychology. It alters your personality, your temperament. It kind of governs you rather than you governing it.
Yeah, it does.
So would you say that when you landed there, I mean, I don't know what life was like before you were 14, but when you landed there, you were kind of like an innocent kid just wanting to crack on with life.
That's it.
And then would you say you changed beyond recognition?
Not beyond recognition.
Okay.
I wasn't a full blown, but I was at a point where I shouldn't have been.
Mm.
Yeah. My darkest times were here.
In the UK?
Yeah.
When you had to move back, you mean, or just?
Well, when I just came back.
I see.
I just came back.
Yeah.
When I came back from the States, I ended up in Europe. I was playing football, American football in Europe. This is before Gladiators. So I was in Sweden for 6 months, in Germany and Frankfurt for 6 months.
Playing professionally?
Playing as a player coach, because I had just come from California for trying out for the NFL. I had gone there as a free agent, meaning not a person coming from college, not going to get picked.
Got you.
Draft, coming from the street. So I tried out for the Los Angeles Rams, didn't get picked. When I say there are a lot of guys, thousands of guys that try out that are free agents that don't come from college. Then I tried out for the Dallas Cowboys.
Big team.
Big team. I was at Texas Stadium. It took me 2 days to drive there from LA. And I'm in the stadium. There's thousands of guys there that are there to try out. Mm. I've spent the whole morning waiting for my turn, chatting with the fellas in that. Look at the size of you, man. You're going to get picked, blah, blah, blah. It was all, very, very hyped up and that. I had to run a few drills. I had to run a 40-yard sprint, which I think I probably did in about 4:05 or something like that, 40 yards, which is not too bad for the position I wanted to play. Mm. Then I ran a few drills through some cones and stuff like that. And the coach looked at the other coach and said to him, he has no hand coordination and his hips are stiff. Next. So don't forget, I waited there all day. It took me 2 days to get there, waited all day, had my trials, and that's what they said to me.
And that was it, done?
That was it, done, yeah. Done. Trial was done. So
wow.
Back in the car and back to LA.
I mean, this is what people don't see. Before you get to that level of fame and sort of, being well known on the show, you probably heard no a lot, didn't you?
Yeah.
And a lot of effort goes into that no. It's not just a quick no, oh, thanks for turning up. You've driven for 2 days. There's a lot that goes into that.
Come on. Yeah.
And so you were now in Europe trying to...
Yes. So then I wrote to a few clubs in Europe and they said, yes, come and play for us. But I ended up coming as a player coach. Okay. So
that's... You really have travelled. Did you say you were in Switzerland or Sweden?
Sweden? Yeah, I've been all over the place. I've been all over the place. I've been lucky to be all over the place.
Yeah, you've had a lot of good experience in that sense, but it's marred with this addiction that was going on at the same time. So when you were in the European countries, were you still using?
No, right. That time I wasn't using. Then I came back, got the job as a gladiator. Mm. So now, life is good. I'm in a good position. No drugs, except for steroids.
Which I'd imagine they were all doing, were they?
Yeah,
or maybe not.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we all come from the bodybuilding world. It wasn't just myself, or mention names. Everyone knows who was on the show. But yeah, we came from that world. You don't drug test the cast of EastEnders or Neighbours.
No.
We're not actors or anything. We're entertainers.
Which is why I referenced the sheer size of you all. Because clearly that's superhuman. That's the idea of the Gladiators, is that the average person is racing against these superhuman gladiators. Yes. That's the idea of it.
Well, the average fit person.
Yeah, the average. I mean, okay, I wouldn't have been able to go on that show. I would have died immediately. But yeah, the average athlete, I guess.
Yeah. But then after the first year, when they realised how big the programme was and how influenced it was with the kids, 5 to 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
So then they decided to start testing us.
And you got caught?
Well, yeah.
Because you would definitely take it. I mean, you're not denying that. And that's, I guess, again, even now, but it's quite common. I mean, people that are in the gym a lot, people are quite open about TRT or steroids.
Yeah.
That it's not...
In today's game, it goes hand in hand. I mean, back in the day, professional bodybuilders did take steroids. Yeah. It's not a miracle drug. It's not something you take and all of a sudden you just look like Arnold.
Well, no, you've still got to do the work.
Still got to do the work. And even then, if you don't have genetic potential, you may not produce muscle. If you don't eat the right food, sleep the right hours. And there's a number of things that have to go into it as well. But, it goes hand in hand with bodybuilding.
So what happened when you got caught?
Gladiators?
Yeah.
When I was accused of doing a line of cocaine in a restaurant in the King's Road, well, I got fired.
So at the point that they realised you're doing steroids...
That was no problem. That wasn't the problem.
So they were okay with that?
Yeah, they took us from that. Because of where they took us from, they wanted that look.
Yeah.
They didn't know if we were taking steroids or not, but they wanted that look.
Yeah.
Obviously, I came from the bodybuilding world, so yes, I'd taken steroids.
Yeah. But now it's public knowledge because they've done this testing thing, so it's out there.
After the year went past and then they realised how big the programme was, now they decided that they were going to start testing us.
Yeah.
Like I said, you don't test the cast of EastEnders or Neighbours or anyone like that. And they're all, the majority of them are doing
something.
Whatever they're doing.
Yeah. And what was the relevance of them testing? Was it just to cover their backs?
Just to show that, we were all clean.
Right.
That we weren't like steroid freaks, or it wasn't so much looking for drugs as in, cocaine or anything like that, but just to test us, to let the nation know that, they all stand up, drug-free.
Yeah. Because
athletes.
I suppose people were suspicious about how these huge
How are they looking like
yeah,
that unless they're taking something, and then the contestants would be crying about, oh, you know, he's probably on gear or he's probably on steroids. How am I going to compete with him?
Yeah. So then that bit happens, and then you get accused of taking cocaine in this restaurant.
Yes. Yes. They said they had the undercover reporter with me in the restaurant. And do you want me to explain that to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. There's 3 basins downstairs and there's 1 cubicle. If I was to go downstairs and do...
If you're going to use the toilet.
Yeah, I'm going to use the toilet.
Yeah.
And if I don't know you, you're not getting in the toilet with me.
Yeah.
Yeah? So...
Which is more than fair enough.
So that story was just fabricated. They said they had pictures, but the only pictures they had was my Jeep outside the restaurant.
Right, okay.
They didn't have nothing else. But on the hearsay of what this guy says, well, there it was, News of the World.
News of the World?
I get a phone call. I think it was a Sunday morning. Jeff, have you seen the papers? I'm thinking, now what? What? You've been accused of taking cocaine? Oh, my God.
Your life just collapsed.
I thought, oh, my God.
I mean, that must have been in the position that you were in life at that point.
Oh, my God.
What did that feel like?
I can't even describe it to you.
Like an impending sense of doom?
Today I was shadow. When I woke up the next day, I wasn't.
Yeah. It's just taken away. I don't think anyone can understand. This is why I sort of honed in on this celebrity fame, that, you know, being, you mentioned being in the supermarket and having to leave, and just the size of this thing, not just you physically, but the energy that was built from it, the show itself, the fame, the celebrity, the adoration, you know, the obsession, I guess, with that. And then for it just, I mean, the News of the World, I mean, anyone that doesn't know the story about the News of the World, just Google it, because it was, well, they're no longer with us, because there was the phone hacking scandals, and there was, you know, just basically lies upon lies upon lies, and really bad practice.
I think to myself, they even tapped my phone. Why would you tap my phone? Am I really someone of that status that you have to tap my phone?
Well, it was a very insidious, poisonous time.
Oh.
So again, we didn't have social media. We really only had the 4 channels. So anyone that was on TV was a target, because they wanted as much poison as they could get on people. But that led, this allegation led to you losing everything literally overnight. And then for you, someone who had addiction problems historically, and someone who had, you know, experienced the converse experience of super duper fame, where does that leave you? Because you're now like in 2 parts, I'd imagine.
Where does it leave you? Oh, I suppose I was in a state of depression.
Grief as well, grief and loss for that life that you'd built up.
Wow. I had to take my shadow number plate off my Jeep. I had to take the G off the back of the spare tyre. It was like I was just stripped of everything.
So Shadow had died, basically.
Yeah. And ashamed. Don't forget, it didn't leave nicely.
No. What were people saying, you know, like, as in the papers and the news? What was being said about you? Can you remember?
I just remember the one title, exposed gladiator, sniffing cocaine in a toilet or something like that. I had another story. Shadow arrested for stealing a Porsche. I never stole a car in my life. They said I just came back from Jamaica from burying my dad. My dad's not Jamaican, and he was alive at the time.
Oh my God.
Under my photo, it had Michael Costello. Who's Michael Costello? My name is Michael King, Michael Jefferson King. But the person who wrote the story disregarded what my name was, just put whatever name he wanted to put there. And at the same time, where did this come from? I've never stolen a car in my life. A Porsche.
So first of all, allegedly, you've taken cocaine, even though you've gone to the toilet, you've shut the door, whatever. Then you're stealing a Porsche after coming back from Jamaica, your dad's funeral, with a different name.
A different name.
So what we're seeing here is just the bullshit, to put it politely.
Then I asked Max Clifford if he could do anything about that last story.
Yeah.
He told said to me, find out where you stand legally. That's what he said to me. And I didn't really appreciate that. I mean, nothing else you can do for me. You're the person that people come to. Yeah. And now look what happened to him.
Well, exactly. I mean, yeah, I mean, again, not someone that can be trusted.
Come on. Yeah, look what happened to him.
Yeah. And so this is where I keep referencing the poison and the toxicity of the time.
Yeah.
There was lots of people taking advantage of lots of other people. There was lots of lies. There was lots of rumours. And
a lot of stories being sold.
And people believed what they saw in the papers then.
Yeah, they do. The only thing you should believe is the day and the date in the right-hand corner. You know who told me that? Barbara Windsor. She said to me, Jeff, it doesn't matter what they say about you. Good or bad publicity is good publicity as long as they're talking about you. It's 30 years down the road and they're still talking about me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're here today because of it. You know, it became a part of the story of who you are and where you went afterwards. And it was a fundamental turning point. And that's why I referenced Carl Jung and the shadow self, because from there, I mean, depression, grief of this character, this life that you'd built up, this celebrity, all just gone because of essentially lies and whatever else. And as you're quite open about addiction now, you know, I'm sure that if you wanted to, you could just go, look, yeah, I was a bit naughty with the cocaine, you know, I'm human, whatever. But what we're saying is there were things that you did do and there were things that you didn't do. And the way that it was taken away was not fair.
No.
And also, we didn't talk about mental health then. We didn't talk about addiction then. There weren't people going, you know, actually, I have got an addiction or I have got an addictive personality and let me go and get some help because...
I wasn't offered no help.
Of course.
I was just dashed out into the wilderness.
You're no longer needed.
I may not even have needed help like that.
Yeah.
Like to go to a rehab centre or go somewhere. I didn't need that kind of help.
No.
Just maybe someone to talk to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe someone to say, listen, Jeff, don't be seen there. Don't be hanging out with those people. And definitely stay away from that. Yeah. Yeah. No one came and said that. So I'm thrown into this life of, wow, now I have a life.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm a celebrity.
Yeah.
Not with the chip on my shoulder, but I'm here.
Whether you like it or not.
And then everything comes. Everything starts to come. And you're spoiled for choices.
Of course.
And you're spoiled for what you do and what you don't do, who you hang and who you don't hang with, you know.
Money, women,
come on.
everything.
It's just, everything's just, So now for you to make the right choices. I didn't obviously make the right choices. Going along blindly.
Hang on. I just want to pull up on something there. Remember, as a young man, you're in New York around the crack era. You know, this is the crack era. So you're exposed to really strong addictive substances really early on. And when we talk about choices that are right and wrong, we're really sort of thinking about that sort of solid, healthy foundation. But you didn't really have that because you were already more prone to addiction anyway. So you were making choices based on an addictive mind. And that's really tough if you've got lots of shiny objects being thrown at you, be that, you know, money, be that cars, be that women, be that people, whatever. As an addictive personality, it's really hard to not take it all.
I don't know if I had an addictive personality.
I would say to be a bodybuilder, you have to have an addictive personality because you've got to be somebody that gets deeply obsessed.
Yes, you've got to be obsessed.
And disciplined. And that is partly what...
being addictive is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can be addictive. I mean, I would say that I'm addicted to work.
Yeah, you're right. I'm addicted to train. I'm addicted to keep training. Yeah. So I'm addicted to it.
You know, you can't...
in a bad way.
You probably can't leave it very long.
No.
So I would say that you have, in terms of neurobiology, an addictive personality. Okay. And therefore, when these things are being thrown at you, it's a different landscape that you're coming from.
Yes.
Because if you don't have an addictive personality, which actually in this day and age is harder because so many kids now are on phones and they're getting the dopamine hit all the time. So that technology influence and that dopamine hit is a problem. if you don't have an addictive personality and you're very grounded and you've got the support and you've got the media training and you've got all the things and all the tools that you should have in that situation, it's probably a lot easier to stay grounded.
Yeah.
Just for context, really. But also, you have had periods of addiction. So in terms of crack cocaine,
I've had many periods of addiction.
Yeah. So you are prone to that slippery slope.
Yes, there was a time I allowed myself to be prone to that slippery slope. I no longer am at the top of that slope to slip down.
No, because you have, again, channeled your life in a different way now.
Yes.
But what's interesting, Jeff, and again, I mentioned the two parts of you, the sort of shadow, the actual character of shadow, and then, you know, the celebrity and the person that can achieve amazing things. But it feels like I'm going back a bit actually, but it feels like from really early on, there was always like a split life because you were UK, New York, mum, dad. It was like you never had that wholeness of self.
No.
So it feels like your life has remained split. Maybe not so much now, but I feel like all the way along there was this split life. It was never just a whole one egg, if you like.
You say that, that's it's true.
And that's why I was interested in you moving to New York at 14, because that's quite a big thing to do. And then, you know, to get used to that. I mean, culturally, it was very different then. You know, it was now, you know, a lot of people can just pop over to New York and it's easy. And then it was a much bigger thing. People didn't fly as much. People didn't travel as much. People didn't have as much, you know, so you would have been quite, maybe not overall, but from a lot of people's perspectives, you would have been quite different in that sense growing up. Yeah. So those two sides to you have always existed. And going back to Carl Jung again, the light and the dark, the shadow and the light, you know, it's all about that split. And I think that's what makes you really interesting, is that there are those two clear, definitive sides to who you are.
Yes.
And I think that's why, you know, the suddenness of Shadow, the character, just being swept away, and then it's kind of like, well, what do I do now? I've always had two parts of me, really. I've always had the UK and New York, and how, from another point of view, how was it for your mum and dad seeing you, you know, go from this kid to this huge celebrity? How was that for them?
They were very proud. Because they had American Gladiators, my mother, you know, she would come over to see the show at the NEC.
Yeah.
When we filmed live and that. Yeah, they were too proud.
Yeah, I mean, that must have been amazing for them. Yeah. Where their beginnings? Where were they from? What was
Barbados.
So they were Barbados.
Yeah, they both came to London or England in the 50s or just after the war or something like that. Yeah.
And they would never have imagined that their son would end up being this huge celebrity.
No.
I mean, that's just unthinkable at that point.
It's mad, yeah.
So for them, coming from a tiny little island, really, to
cold old England.
Yeah, which, you know, disappointing for them. I'm sure the pictures were a lot nicer before they actually got here. And they arrived to drizzly old England. And then, you know, you've done it. You've made it. You're Shadow. You're this huge character. Yeah. And then, of course, did they both see the demise of that as well?
Yes.
How was that for them?
Just keep your chin up, Jeff. Yeah, I mean...
Kept it cool.
For me, life is like a leaf falling from a tree and getting blown around in the wind. You land there, you land there, you land there, you land there. You keep moving like that. And that for me is how life is.
Go with the flow kind of thing.
Yeah, so many things I've done, so many things have happened, but that's life, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we can all sit here and write down the list of all the things that we've passed through and had happen and all that.
Yours is just so public, though. I think that's what makes it very different, is that you can't have that private experience of all the things, you know. It's more... Because from there, if we look at the sort of life after celebrity, which, again, I talk about it because most of us will never know what it's like to have the life after celebrity, let alone the celebrity life. What were the months and years that followed like for you after Gladiators?
Then I was on a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Moving very fast downwards. Mm-hmm. Very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Until I reached the bottom where there was nobody else around. Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know how I came out of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I came out of that. I was broken, and then my relationship, my wife, I divorced and all kinds of stuff, and just
everything went.
Yeah, just went to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're a dad as well.
Yeah, I've got twins, girl and a boy.
Yeah. So you're going through all of this as a father, and
not even as a father that was always there. I mean, I never took my kids to school. Never picked them up from school. They lived in Coggeshall in Essex, and I lived in London. I was in the madness. I wasn't seeing nobody. Nobody was seeing me. Where's Jeff? Where's Jeff? I didn't want to be seen.
No. You were hiding, really, weren't you?
I didn't want to be seen.
But trying to survive at the same time.
Trying to survive at the same time. I mean, what am I going to do? Everywhere I go, it's like,
everyone knows you.
Yeah, what do I do?
So you're hiding. Are you using any sort of substances?
I'm using cocaine, yeah.
Yeah, using cocaine. So you're hiding. You're escaping.
I'm around people that are using cocaine. So, what chance do I have? If you put yourself around people who are also doing what you shouldn't be doing, then you're in trouble.
Well, they do say you become the people you surround yourself with.
Sure you do.
Yeah.
When people say, you show me your friends and I tell you who you are or what your future is, that's so true.
It is so true. It is very true, actually. Yeah. And we're so easily, and just because we are energetic beings, we are magnetic beings as well. So we literally will magnetize the energy that we are around. Yeah. So it keeps happening. And people go, how do you go from this gladiator to that? And it's a series of events. It's always layered and it's always complex. But when you find that you're escaping your own self, which is what, drugs and alcohol do, don't they? You're escaping self, you're escaping your feelings. You're not processing your feelings.
You bump into yourself a bit further down the road when you're either pissed or too high to talk to yourself. Yeah.
And you just lose all sense of reality, don't you? All sense of reality, but all sense of anything.
Self-love, self-being and everything, yeah.
There's nothing left.
Nothing left.
Because you just become the vessel.
Sure. So you can imagine people that are out there that are struggling with mental health or are struggling with drugs or alcohol and they can't find no way out. And everyone that's around them is doing the same thing because you can't be around normal people if you're doing such things or if you're pissed all the time. No one wants to have you around you. No. So you're sitting there by yourself then.
Yeah.
You're either getting high by yourself or you're getting drunk by yourself because nobody wants to know you.
Was that entirely true for you? Do you think people did want to know you? Because you mentioned the shame earlier. You felt ashamed after the public sort of demise.
Well, yeah.
So do you think you were pushing people away or do you think they were leaving?
I think they were leaving.
So they weren't, it wasn't a case of you pushing it. You wanted them there, but they left.
Yeah. Even after I was dismissed from Gladiators, I had a gym, a dojo in Middlesex, and a couple of times a few of them came over to see me and they were told not to come to my gym just in case I got myself in any trouble and they would be associated with me. So you can imagine now, for 4 years or for 3.5 years, we were like a family. Okay, we met for 2 weeks in Birmingham, stayed at the Hyatt Hotel, had a floor for us, just the Gladiators. We were training at the NEC. We were like a family.
Mm.
Obviously, nobody wants to make waves. There's lots of people in the queue that want your job.
Yeah.
Yeah? So, okay, when they let me go now, if we had stayed together, we would have had a lot more strength.
Yeah.
But nobody wanted to
stick their head out.
Be involved or say anything, stick up or nothing. It was like, oh, shit, okay. They just fired Shadow. Oh, God. If they fired him, come on. Wow. Don't forget, you've gone from, when they fired me, you went from like 15 million viewers to let's say 13 million. Let's say 12
so
million.
they dropped a few.
Yeah. Because there was no... I said this before. I believe I was the serious side of Gladiators.
Yeah.
Not to say that the rest of them weren't serious, but I was the person you had to think about. Because
Well, you were an American footballer. Like, you were an athlete, really.
yeah.
Like, there was a serious... Although you were a bodybuilder, there was a... And I'm not saying that's not serious, because anyone that's a bodybuilder knows it's very serious. But that athlete in you took it serious. I remember thinking that, you know. I'm glad you said that, because... Whereas Wolf was funny and scary.
He was a character.
He was the baddie.
Yeah, big bad wolf. He had the character to play.
Yeah,
So at the same time, he did compete. It wasn't like as if he was just clowning around.
He was very, very, very good. Yeah. You know, all of you were.
All of them, yeah.
But like you say, you had a more serious... serious...
like when contestants would arrive, I wouldn't talk to them for the first week. They would try to talk to me, but the other gladiators would tell them, he doesn't talk to people, contestants, until you get to the green room, until after the show, because that's just the way he is. But my attitude was, I don't want to get to know you, because I'm going to hurt you.
Like a bit like a boxer.
I'm gonna be in you. So I don't want to know you. Like, we become friends before we start filming. I would talk to you in the green room. Yeah. And meet your family and everything else, and say what a great contestant you was.
It's a good way to do it.
Yeah, for me it was good.
It keeps it real. And so when you went, I guess we lost, and I remember, it was kind of like the end of the dream. I suppose if you think of a film, when you lose a character in a film, it's really like, it's not the same anymore. Yeah. Like, you just feel like, or a big soap opera or something. Missing, something, you say, something's missing. And I think that's probably why the viewing figures dropped, because it was almost palpable that you had gone. Yeah. And yet now you're literally, people are leaving you, and you're sort of really isolated and lonely and alone. And that's horrible to think about that.
Yeah. So I just lost myself in
that world.
In that world, yeah.
And may I ask if any demons from prior to the show were there? Because I think also with...
Demons?
Yeah, like throughout life, in childhood particularly, your nervous system never changes. So in terms of fight, flight, in terms of being prepared for danger or threat of any kind, your nervous system doesn't adapt until you know how to adapt it. Yeah. So you need to know how to release trauma and stress and pain. And because you had, well, to the point where your mum sent you back to your dad at 19, because you had some issues, and as you said at the beginning of the podcast, you'd got into a few naughty things here and there. Do you think any of those demons resurfaced after the show when you were using again?
Demons.
Pain. Trauma.
Yes.
It all bubbles back up again, doesn't it? Because I think even the celebrity is like a drug. You can avoid the true self by being the character.
Yeah.
And I think then that character is dismissed and taken away, and then you're back to the self. And the self is where, if we don't address those pains, those traumas, people say the demons, if you don't address those things, they're always going to be there, and they're going to pop up like a jack in a box. Yeah. They're going to pop up all the whether time, you like it or not.
No, now I live a very peaceful life. Yeah. And I'm at peace with myself. I'm very happy with my life. I'm very happy with the way things are going.
And you seem very, very grounded.
I'm happy that since I'm on a journey right now, salvaging myself from where I've come from. Yeah. So I'm trying to put myself back to the best possible Jeff that I possibly can be, or where I should be. Where should you be? Because I always struggle with the word should. Where should I be? Where I am right now. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Drug free, looking healthy and fit, and feeling healthy and fit and strong. And I would say I'm running out of time. I don't know how much time I've got left. So every day's a blessing for me. You say that. I mean, you're 63, are you not? Yeah. I mean, you look incredible for any age. Oh, you're too kind. But no, but you do. But, you do look really very fit. I mean, I know you train a lot still.
I've met some of your people today. You've obviously got beautiful people around you.
Yes, and that's important.
It's
That's very important to have beautiful people around you.
It's really important.
Yeah,
if not the most important thing.
It is because I have had the most terrible of people around me.
Well, you ended up in prison as well, didn't you? So, I mean, look, I want to say this very, very clearly because I know a lot of people that have been in prison. I don't know what that says about me. But I find that some of these people are the best characters that you'll ever meet because they have gone through life normally in a way that really they shouldn't have had to in their childhood or whatever. They've fallen into traps. Yeah. They've fallen into circles, as you said. They've not had the right support around them. They've ended up being in the wrong crowd, if you want to call it that. And they've ended up on a path, the slippery slope, and they've ended up in prison. And I know that sometimes in prison it can be a very dark, lonely, but also dangerous place. Yeah, and sometimes it can really maketh the man or the woman. Yeah. In the sense that, you get serious about your training, you get your discipline back. And you
find yourself, don't you? You're locked up in a cell 24 hours a day. So you've got to think about what it is you've done or what it is you're going to do. And I mean, there are a lot that just sit and fester.
Of course. That's a personality thing, isn't it? Mindset.
And there's those like myself that needed to go, wanted to go, and if I could have booked in, I would have booked in.
Well, yeah, you said earlier you were very grateful, really, that happened because you ended up being given an opportunity to find yourself.
It needed to happen. It needed to happen.
And the papers obviously reported certain things about, you'd got into a situation where there was a little bit of violence involved and threatening this and threatening that. But that's kind of what happens when you fall into these circles and money and drugs are involved. And I want to kind of reference that those moments in life, and we said this prior to recording, didn't we, that we're all sort of 6 decisions away from a life sentence. If you have children, if you have money problems, if you are put in a position where you're desperate for whatever to survive or you're desperate because someone's hurt someone you love, those decisions can get you into a very, very deep, dark hole. And it's not about whether you're a good person or a bad person. It's about the choices that you make based on where you're at the time, based on your mindset, based on your mental health, based on your trauma, based on all sorts of things. And so I really want to say that because I sit here with you today and I've sat with you prior to coming into the studio while you had your food and having a lovely chat, and everyone's, so lovely and grounded and such a beautiful energy. So we know that when you went into prison, you obviously made that decision to use it wisely and be grateful for that experience.
Yeah, I was grateful for the experience, and it was the longest sentence that I've ever done. And I started late. I didn't go to prison when I started late. It's the longest sentence I've done, and 2 months inside wouldn't have done nothing to me.
No.
I needed to go away for that.
What was it like being you? Because obviously prison is prison, but I would imagine it could be probably a little bit harder if people do know who you are. Or easier, I'm not sure.
Yeah, easier, because I'm a face.
Yeah.
So in prison you would say I'm a face. So work would be easy straight away. Mm-hmm. Nice cell with a in-house toilet would be nice.
Yeah.
Not just exposed.
Yeah.
So these things were put in place for me, or I put these things.
Was it to protect you though? Do you think that because you're a face No, it was just that people liked you?
Yeah, I'm very quiet when I'm inside.
Yeah.
You don't see me. I'm a ghost. Yeah. And for those that know me, will tell you the same thing, that Jeff, he's quiet, nice guy, but he's quiet. And I am quiet. I got nothing to say to no one. I ain't here to make no friends. Yeah. I'm literally focused on what's going to happen. Yeah.
What did you do in there as a job?
I used to work for the medical team. I used to run around to different cells and give out the appointment slips. The guys had to come and see the doctor, and I used to work behind the servery. Wow. In order to get maximum amount of food.
Yeah, I was going to say you'd need your food.
Other jobs have I done? Being in walkways. When I went to High Down prison, I started off in Scrubs, and I went to High Down, and then from High Down I went to Ford, which is the open prison. That was the last 6 months before I came out. That gets you used to guys go there, you get to work outside and stuff like that. But I wasn't there long enough to get a job to work outside. So, but yeah.
So you kind of like retraining, just sort of that humble experience of, you know, doing the jobs that everybody's got to do and mucking in together.
Yeah.
Teamwork again, I guess.
Just keeping myself to myself, really. It's like a training camp, it was. I thoroughly enjoyed it. When I say I thoroughly enjoyed it, I don't want to sound like as if I'm what do they call that word?
Intervention.
Intervention. But yeah, I needed to go, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed my time. I got the result that I wanted. I got the head space that I needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's all good. It's all gravy now.
Did you read a lot in there?
Read?
Yeah.
No, I don't read a lot. I'll be honest with you, I don't really read books unless they really, really interest me.
Yeah. If you were to read a book, what would you read?
I did read a book, actually. My son got me to read The Peaceful Warrior, The Way of the Peaceful Warrior. Like that.
Yes, I know the one you mean.
Yeah. And there was another one that he got me to read, 48 Laws or something.
Oh, 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah.
By Robert Greene.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good. I enjoyed that. But
so,
I'm not really a book reader.
No. Do you find it hard to concentrate for long periods of time?
No.
Just not, you get
bored?
bored?
I have to be into something. I draw.
Do you?
Yeah, very good artist.
But did you do a lot of drawing in there?
Yes.
What sort of things?
I drew pictures for people, their kids and all that kind of stuff.
That's really cool.
That, yeah.
What, so like you copy a photo?
Yeah, I copy anything. Yeah, a gift I had since a kid.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, copy anything. Yeah.
Do you ever post any of them?
They're on my Instagram page.
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
Why have I not seen them? Obviously didn't scroll enough.
You haven't scrolled enough. No,
I'm going to find them.
There's little circles at the top when you go onto...
Yeah.
Yeah, you just press one of those where the art thing is and all the artwork comes
I'll
up.
make sure they come in the trailer for this. Got to show off your skills.
Yeah.
So you're a bit... So more visual creative than sort of reading and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was never one for books. I didn't really learn shit when I was in school.
No, well, you were more physical.
Just about graduated from high school in America. I mean, I did, but, you know.
I always say this about boys. I don't think boys are ready for education until education finishes. You know, most of them are just so physical and need to move and need to sort of use their bodies and use energy. They're not all boys, obviously that's not fair to say, but a lot of boys aren't really ready to learn in a classroom environment until they're 15, 16, by which point the bulk of education is done. So I think the system doesn't really work for a lot of boys at all.
You know, before I went to... I must tell you a little story. Before I went to America, and I was in school here in England, a teacher came into the classroom and said, "Is there a Michael King here?" Yeah. Now, my mother has always called me Jeffrey.
Yeah.
I didn't even know my name was Jefferson. Can you believe this? I didn't know my name.
Oh, so your mum called you Jeffrey?
My mum always called me Jeffrey.
You've got a lot of names.
Jeff or Jeffrey, yeah? That was what my mum called me. But I didn't know my first name was Michael. Don't ask me why, I don't know, but I didn't know my first name. So the teachers come into the classroom and said, "Is there a Michael King?" And I said, "No." I said, "I'm a Jeff King." "So what's your first name?" Now, imagine, I didn't know my first name.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Did you ever work it out? Or did he tell you? Your first name is Michael.
Yeah, your first name's Michael King. Michael Jefferson King. And I'm thinking, Michael Jefferson King, my mum's called me Jeffrey. Yeah.
Oh, my life.
So I don't allow anyone to call me Jeffrey, because my mum's gone now, but...
She was the only one that
yeah,
could.
the only person that can call me Jeffrey, yeah.
Aww.
Either Jeff or Jefferson.
Yeah.
Most people don't call me Jefferson, they call me Jeff. Or Shadow.
Or Shadow, yeah. I bet. Do people still call you Shadow?
Yeah, yeah.
I bet everyone still calls you Shadow, don't they? Do you
people that don't know me call me Shadow, yeah.
Yeah.
If you know me, they call me Jeff.
So how do people still recognise you?
Yes.
I bet they do.
Yeah,
you're very recognisable.
Especially now that I'm, in shape.
Yeah.
I mean, before they used to look at me and think, that guy looks like the guy from Gladiators.
Because you did lose a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Didn't you? I remember seeing a picture of you actually and thinking...
I was ready for the... I don't know what I was ready for.
I couldn't... I mean, I'm not gonna over-egg this. I literally couldn't believe it when I saw a picture of you. It must have been
Neither
in the paper.
could I.
I bet you couldn't.
Dodger used that picture. When I first saw it, he goes, "Well, I've got to draw him in." I said, "But the mugshot from the police station after 4 days, you're killing me here now." But he goes, "No, it's got to be done." So he done it.
I remember seeing it at the time and I thought, no.
I was actually thinking, what are you going to use to pour them in? And I thought, I hope she doesn't use the mugshot as well. I really did.
Well, now I won't because you've requested that I don't. If people want to see it, they can Google it. If you're desperate to see it.
Yeah, even that, when people Google me, that is what comes up. And I said to my son, how can I get rid of this? He goes, Dad, you're going to have to do something so incredible to change that.
I don't think you should change it though. Shall I tell you why?
Go on.
Because we spoke about, I don't want this. I mean, obviously we've had to cover the story a little bit. I don't want this to be about that though. I want this to be about the greatness of the human experience. The fact that despite the fact you had it all after having a somewhat, difficult beginning, you had it all and then you lost it all and then you went to the depths of despair. And now you're building it all back up. And it's just to say that for those people that are in that hole, and your picture
can be done.
But your picture is a representation of how far you're coming back up and how far you fell. And only a couple of days ago, Audley Harrison actually sent me he sent me a video of
Audley Harrison.
Yeah, what a guy. He sent me a video of Will Smith talking about rock bottom and the top of the cliff.
Right.
I don't know if you've seen this video.
I've seen a little bit of it.
And it's really important for those that haven't seen it to talk about, because we always talk about rock bottom, which is where you've been, but you've also been on the top of the cliff. Yeah. And in both places, what he's saying is you could have nothing or you could have everything. And in both places, if you haven't met yourself, which is what you were talking about with the prison cell, if you haven't met yourself, you can't survive it. You've got to be willing to go back to self. And you've got to be willing to really face yourself in the mirror. And if facing yourself in the mirror or the photograph is something you don't like, use it as inspiration to work your way back up to greatness, but with humility and with, full accountability and autonomy. And take the wisdom with you. This is you at the minute and I can see it because I can feel the energy. But so many people go, right, I'm out of prison now, and go straight back into what they've always known. But with you, and this is why I mentioned the two parts.
Believe me, when I came out of prison, for a brief second.
I bet.
A brief second, I'm free.
Yeah.
I deserve this.
Yeah.
Bad mistake.
Yeah.
So bad that after 2 weeks, I nearly got sent back to prison.
Wow.
And if I had got sent back to prison, I would have done another 3 years.
Oh, God.
Just for that.
Yeah.
That there scared me so much and showed me that I don't need this. This is what I was doing. This is what I was thinking I was enjoying. Had me like, imagine after 3.5 years, I was like, no. And then to think that I nearly went back to prison. And I thought, and it was like, I'll tell you how it happened. It was like someone offering you a cigarette. Yeah, I'll have one. Offering you a pipe. Yeah, go on then. I'll have a pipe with you. I ain't seen you for ages. Social thing.
It's
not
like
looking to get that one. Just having a little,
like a social thing almost.
But that social thing, so dangerous, not only for me and my license, but just so. I can't believe I was doing it. I can't believe I was doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I was in a position where I couldn't get out of bed unless I had a line of heroin.
Yeah. I
couldn't function unless I had a line of heroin. When I tell people you are as weak as a kitten, that's how it makes you. What a life to live. What a way to live.
What a shame.
For
God. All the people that are going through it now.
Yeah.
Such a shame.
And you have to, sooner you have to realise that. And when people say to me, Jeff, but it's so hard. I mean, I used to think it was so hard. I used to think I would never come out of the trenches, but you have to change your mindset. How
did you do that? Because I want to say this, partly this is about biology and neurobiology when it comes to addiction. Partly, just very, very briefly for the listeners, especially those that are interested or know people that are going through addiction now, essentially the trauma or even neurodivergence, ADHD, autism, all these sorts of things, they can change the way dopamine responds in the brain. So you metabolize dopamine really, really quickly, which means you're not holding on to that motivation reward. When you're not holding on to dopamine because it metabolizes so quickly, it puts out serotonin, which is your happy neurotransmitter, and then GABA and glutamate, which are your anxiety stabilizers. When they're out, those neurotransmitters, the rest of your system in the endocrine system is also out of alignment. So nothing's functioning in balance. Yeah. And so when we're taking something like heroin, cocaine, alcohol even, because people forget about alcohol, although it's legal, it's still, it alters the neurobiology. Yep. It alters the way you feel. Yep. It allows you to escape intense or difficult feelings. And also it gives you lots of feel good. Yeah. So not in the right way, and it's very maladaptive. So for people that haven't had the support like you referenced earlier, it's easy to get caught up in that loop. And actually, if the traumas and stresses and pains are so severe for people, why would they want to revisit themselves when they don't feel like anyone can hold that space for them? So for you to come out of prison and think, yeah, I deserve this, I've kind of earned this, it would suggest to me that maybe neurobiologically something's not in balance, that you're drawn into that heavy training or that substance or whatever to bring yourself back to balance. Which goes back to the two parts, always feeling split.
Yeah, I was a bit split, I suppose, when I come out. Put me in East London in some hostel. Hated it. Had to be in at 7.
Oh my gosh.
And that was another bit of pressure, Stayed there for 3 months. Don't forget now, I ain't seen no one. I don't know no one. I'm in East London. I'm dying to get back to West. At least I might bump into somebody that I know, good or bad.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not always a good thing in your...
And then... so my probation was in Ealing, and I arrive in Ealing and I'm looking around and I'm seeing people that, I left and they're still doing what they're doing and they're looking like death, and thinking to myself, my God, if I was still here.
Yeah, so that was your inspiration then. I hear you.
I thought, if I was still here, how would I be looking compared to how I looked before I left? Yeah, so
So that photo then is inspiration and motivation if you allow it to be. It doesn't need to be something that you're ashamed of.
No, I'm not ashamed of it. It's just that it's just a reminder of that time. And I didn't know that he was going to use that as a
bit of a shock.
Bait. Yeah, so it was a bit of a shock, but I don't mind it. Yeah.
He is right though. It is what makes people drawn in. Yeah. But I would rather use your Gladiator photos, and also just the photos of where you're at now, because I think personally that's how I think of you even now sitting in front of me, because you're in amazing shape. I mean, you won't be the same size you were then, but no. I think you don't look like somebody that's ever put anything toxic in your body ever. You look like you've always been healthy.
This is what I want. This is what I want.
Well, you've achieved it, and I think that's. But to be honest with you, and going back to that photo, when I saw it, the first time I saw it, it really made me very sad because, again, we do hold people in high regard, especially if we've grown up with them and known them. And so it was really sad. But I think what's more powerful and more great about you is that you've turned it around. And I know we're always on a journey, by the way, even if it doesn't feel like it. No one ever has the answers. No. We're always learning, evolving and changing. I mean, like I said before, you're 63 and hopefully you'll be here for another 30, 40 years, still learning, still gaining wisdom. And
that's a bit long though.
Well, yeah, maybe you'll be a bit tired.
My mum was 93 when she passed away.
Well, there you go. You've definitely got at least 30 left in you. So you may as well, get settled because you're here for the long run. And I think that's really important. Just let it be what it is, but let yourself gather that wisdom. And what you're doing now by going on the podcast you've gone on, and by, I'm very grateful that you're on this one, is sharing wisdom and saying, look, if you've got to get to, in your 60s before you start to turn your life around, it's still bloody possible. It's never too late.
Never too late.
It's never too late.
And I've always found myself doing things late, no matter what it is. I've always done them late, but, got them achieved, got them done, but...
Yeah, and slowly sometimes wins the race. let's not forget the hare and the snail, or the tortoise, or whatever it was.
Tortoise,
The snail. That's my version of the story. But yeah, it is. Sometimes this, slowly does it.
Yeah.
We don't always have to rush. We don't have to be the first to win.
No, that's right.
And actually, sometimes you win and then you've got to go back. And you've got to do it all again, you've got to do it differently.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who's maybe struggling with the depths of despair and feeling like there's just no way back up? What would you say to them?
Gather your thoughts and look at your surroundings, and it's a lonely journey coming from that, and coming through that is a lonely journey. You may find yourself by yourself. You may find yourself feeling lonely, and maybe even more sort of low. I wouldn't say depressed, but low. But yeah, it's a mindset. Programming your mind again, saying to yourself, you know what, I don't want to live like this no more, and making a conscious decision, a real decision. I mean, I've battled with this thing for I don't know how long, 30 odd years, 40 odd years, whatever, and it's something that comes and goes, and you have to make a choice in life if you're going to continue doing what you're doing or you're going to stop doing what you're doing, and that's what you got to do. Reprogram your mind. Start thinking differently, surrounding yourself with positive thinking people that, you can look up to, maybe be inspired by, have a conversation with, that lift you up. You get those people that sometimes you talk to them and they just completely drain you. And you think to yourself, oh, why did I stop and talk to this person? And then you meet someone else and they just completely charge your batteries. You leave them thinking, oh my God, it was so nice to see him, or it was so nice to talk to her.
Yes.
So yeah, you got to change your way of thinking.
Who inspired you growing up? Who were your big inspirations in life?
I never really had sort of big inspirations in life. I suppose my first inspiration when I first saw a picture of Arnold. I don't know why. But yeah, I was in the changing room in school, and they had a picture of Arnold in the changing room, and I just thought to myself, wow. This is at 14, I thought, I would like to look like that, and so I just like to...
Wow, I mean, to be fair, Arnold is responsible for a lot of boys becoming muscle men, aren't they?
Yeah,
I mean, like, he is the biggest...
Yeah.
It's always Arnold.
Yeah, I mean, the film Pumping Iron sort of made people realise what bodybuilding and weight training was all about. It was a big thing.
Yeah, he really is obviously very important in that world.
Yeah.
What about in terms of, films or music, people that you kind of look to as a bit of a hero? Did you ever have that hero thing going on, other than Arnold, obviously?
Not really. Not like I remember.
You were sort of more in your own mind, maybe?
Yeah, I think I was, because I wasn't really a comic book man I've never been to a football game. I mean, I left here when I was 14, so I never got a chance to get to support a team or know a team and follow it for the rest of my life and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And what about now? Who inspires you in
My son inspires me now.
Oh, how old is your son?
They're 31. I've got twins.
Of course, you said they're twins, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they inspire me. He inspires me. He's out in Thailand training now. He does the MMA fighting, but he's an online coach now.
Oh, wow.
His trade is he's a gas man. He's a plumber, really. I was surprised when I was inside and he told me he was doing this MMA fighting, and I thought, what's that? He said, Dad, when you're in the cage. And I was like, what, you really doing that? And I said to him, he's a unit. My son's about 6'4". He's a big lad.
Because you're 6'3", aren't you?
Yeah, he's a man. So anyway, I said to him, do you believe you're as hard as nails? What do you mean am I hard as nails? Are you as hard as nails? And as fit as, because you have to be.
Yeah.
Those two things if you play that game.
Yeah.
And he is, and he's been doing it for the last 3 years. And he's doing very well.
What's your daughter do?
She works for a PR company in London. She's a boss, man. She works advertising.
So they've done really well.
Yeah, done really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really well.
And you've got a good relationship with them now?
Yes, I talk to them every day.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All those things are the things that really, really, really matter.
Really, really matter, yeah.
They are.
It's like one of the guys in our mental health chat group we have every Thursday. He came up with a great analogy of how things are, and spinning plates, and you got your your life over here, your mortgage and your wife and everything, and these plates are spinning. You got to keep those plates spinning. And you got your outside life, your friends, your drink, your drugs, if you do drugs or whatever, and you got to keep them spinning as well. But, sooner or later, something's going to slow down and start to crash. But those things over this side have to keep on going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like life, isn't it? You've got to choose the right things.
Yes, you do.
Concentrate on the right people. Concentrate on the right things that you're doing.
Yeah, you have to.
And then life is bliss then, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And actually, I don't subscribe to a religion, but I do look at the miracle of the human experience, because I was saying to you guys in there earlier about, we were talking about narcissism and, sociopaths and psychopaths having a cheery conversation. And we were talking about, the cellular biology and frequency and communication between cells. And I said something about 38 trillion cells that we have that make us up. And that each cell, especially when it comes to stem cells, they just know what to do. So we start off as an embryonic cell, right? And then the embryonic cell multiplies and we become an embryo, then a fetus, then the developing baby. Right. And the cells just know to become brain or tissue or bone or muscle. Yeah. And obviously if you train muscle, the cells multiply in the muscle. Yeah. And like everything's coded. So everything just knows what to do. No one's going, right now, you guys for brain, you guys for... Right. It's just known.
It just knows,
It just knows.
No, it's incredible, isn't it?
It's incredible. It's a miracle.
Yeah, it is.
And when you've had children, you just think this is a miracle. They're part of me, and it's beautiful.
It's beautiful,
and
it's
wonderful.
It's amazing, yeah.
And whether you believe in God or science or the universe, if you can be in that blissful place of choosing the right things, and really, this is why I think you were so grateful for the prison experience, just really go back to self, spend time.
Self,
and get to know that, because actually the magic is in you.
Yeah.
And you can either switch it on or turn it off. And actually that's what you're doing. You're switching it on again. Yeah. And I think it's so powerful and so beautiful. I was
telling the young lad the other day how incredible it is, your brain, the way you think. 1 minute you can think of red, and if you want, you can think of blue. Or you can change it just like that. So same in life, you can change it just like that.
Yeah, you can.
You can make it difficult for yourself. You can make it seem harder for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of shied away from those groups and those 12 steps and all that kind of stuff. Because I believe that having to go, or thinking that you having to go to all these groups and that, puts more weight on you. You're already struggling to get over what it is you're trying to get over, but now you're seeking help from all these different angles, and you're getting all this information, but it's still not helping you because you haven't made that conscious decision in your mind to stop. So now it's a battle. So that's what makes it so, what gives you the impression it's so hard and I can't get out of this. I can't stop. Yeah,
so true. It's a bit like the Matrix, isn't it? Red pill, blue pill. Yeah. Which one are you going to choose? It is. And I know, that's very simple version, because when you're in the depths of pain or depression, it never feels that easy. No. But it does come down to that in the end.
Yeah. And when you look back on it, or when I look back on it, it was easy.
Yeah. Once you made the decision, you had to make the decision.
It was easy.
And I'll tell you what else is interesting is that your story shows us that control's an illusion. The idea that you're ever in control of anything, it gets, your life can change on the flip of a coin. Yeah. So then the choices that you make, knowing that the control is an illusion, they're the important decisions. And I love what you said about family and love and friends and good people and all the other sort of darker shadow stuff, which is the drugs, the alcohol, the sex, all those things that, yes, they're alluring, and yes, they can be tantalizing, and yes, you can get drawn in. Yeah. But remember, that itself is an illusion, because once you're in the depths and you've seen it, that is just lonely.
Sure.
And so what's interesting about the whole, me asking you about your inspirations and the people that inspired you, is at some point you'd have been, like Arnold, inspiring little boys to become the big muscle man. And I think today, yes, that's still there, and young men looking at you going, I'm a bit out of shape, and look at this guy, 63 years old, looks phenomenal, I want to be like him. But also some of the things you've said today about choices and about understanding that once you've made that choice, things can get better, that's going to be inspirational. So you will be inspiring people in the same way that you were inspired.
Yeah, I hope so.
And that's what this is all about.
That's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. It's leaving that legacy in the right way. Yeah. And that photo, I've got to say this again, it means nothing in the grand scheme of it. It's just a pivotal point where you got to meet yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's great. I think that, you know, your story is layered and complex, and, you know, you've got so many ingredients in this cake that, you know, ultimately...
Wait till I finish the book.
So when is this book going to be?
Oh, I don't know, because I've been doing it for so long. I mean, I did it. I almost came to finishing it before I got arrested and went to prison. And I lost all that stuff. All the stuff that was in the apartment is gone. So all that work I did, and that was on paper. I had it typed up so I can see what it looked like typed up and that. But,
no.
I've got to do it again.
Yeah, you have got to do it again.
I'm in the middle of doing it all again.
I will get that book. And if I don't get a signed copy of that book, I'll be really disappointed. I can't thank you enough for being here today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it.
Because you were scared at first, weren't you?
I was. I saw a little clip. Mark sent me a little clip of you so I could, you know, see what type of, how you did your thing and that. And I said to him, I feel like I'm going to be in front of a judge. I said, I hope my diction's enough for it. He goes, no, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. We'll think of some big words on the way up there.
I love that. I only know about 10 big words. It sounds good when I put them in a sentence, but that's my limit. But I've had a lovely time.
You're lovely. You're a lovely woman.
Thank
you.
You are. And you're a lovely man.
Thank you.
So we're obviously destined to meet for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
But I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I think that you've got so much to offer. And I know that people, they'll finish this and they'll just be like, have that lovely feeling in their heart, because you are a good man.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that's what we can all take away. It doesn't matter what happens in life. If you're a good person to begin with, which I think we're all born good, or at least most of us.
Good things should follow you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Aww.